Something less urban, maybe something more universal, the curator said with calculated coldness. With a rejected portfolio and shattered dreams, Yasmin faces the elitism of the traditional art world in San Francisco. When gallery doors, close on her cultural expression, a worn-down wall on the streets offers an unexpected canvas for an artistic revolution no one could silence. Yasmin's libertarian art on, a busy street in downtown San Francisco, USA, Yasmin clutched her worn portfolio to her chest. She stopped in front of an imposing art gallery, observing the modern glass and steel facade reflecting the golden sunset. Summoning courage, she pushed through the heavy doors and approached the reception desk. "Good afternoon. I'm an artist, and would like to show my work," Yasmin said, extending her portfolio with a shy smile. The curator, a middle-aged woman with gold-rimmed glasses, looked Yasmin up and down before taking the portfolio with disinterest. "Let's see," she murmured, flipping through the pages quickly. Her face remained expressionless until, at the end, she let out a bored sigh. "There's talent here, no doubt," she said, handing back the portfolio. "But honestly, we're looking for artists who connect more with our audience." Yasmin frowned, trying to keep her composure. "And what exactly is our audience?" she asked, her voice firm but polite. The curator smiled, but there was coldness in her eyes. "Something less urban, maybe something more universal," she replied, choosing her words carefully, feeling the rejection like a weight in her stomach. Yasmin thanked her and left. Outside, the cold San Francisco wind tousled her curly hair. She walked along the busy sidewalks, clutching her portfolio to her chest, feeling the weight of disdain and closed doors. Yasmin stopped at a busy corner, looking at a wall covered in graffiti and torn posters. Her eyes sparkled with an idea just beginning to form in her mind. That night, Yasmin couldn't sleep. In her small apartment in the Mission District, with thin walls and the constant sound of cable cars on the streets below, she spread her artworks. Across the worn floor, vibrant paintings of her community, portraits of faces forgotten by society, urban scenes pulsing with life and resistance. Universal, she murmured ironically to herself. What could be more universal than the human struggle for dignity? Why was her art, which spoke of her Brazilian roots and immigrant experience, considered less universal than European landscapes or still lifes? The next morning, Yasmin woke up with the sun rising over the city and a decision made. If traditional galleries wouldn't make room for her voice, she would find her own path. She grabbed her backpack, filled it with spray paints, brushes, and paints, and returned to the same corner where she had stopped the day before. The wall was still there, ugly and gray, covered with faded ads and random graffiti. She looked around, feeling her heart race. What she was about to do could be considered vandalism. But isn't that what street art means? A form of expression for those who have no voice in official spaces. "Are you really going to do this?" a voice asked behind her. Yasmin turned, startled. A young man with long dreadlocks and a camera hanging around his neck was watching her. With interest. "Do what?" she replied defensively. "Turn that wall into something amazing," he smiled, pointing to her backpack. "I'm Marcus, an independent photographer. Urban documentation is my specialty." Yasmin hesitated for a moment, but something in Marcus's sincere eyes made her relax. "I'm Yasmin. And yes, I'm going to do it. I'm tired of closed doors." Marcus nodded, understanding immediately. "Can I photograph the process? I promise I won't get in the way." "As long as you promise to warn me if the police show up," Yasmin smiled, pulling out the first spray can from her backpack. In the following hours, as the sun climbed higher, the grey wall came to life. With every stroke, every layer of paint, Yasmin told her story. A young Brazilian woman, daughter of a carpenter and a seamstress, who had crossed borders chasing a dream. Faces from her San Francisco community emerged from vivid colors, the tamale vendor on the corner, the elderly lady selling flowers, the group of kids playing soccer in the makeshift park. People began to stop and watch. Some took photos with their phones. Others simply observed silently. An elderly man approached, staring intently at the face of a woman Yasmin had just finished painting. "That's my mother," he said, tears in his eyes, pointing to the figure of a black woman with a colorful headscarf. "How did you know her?" Yasmin looked surprised at the man. "I don't know her. I painted her based on a lady I see every day selling flowers at the subway station." The man smiled. "My mother sold flowers near here for 30 years. She passed away last year. It seems you captured her soul in that painting." He shook Yasmin's hand firmly before walking away, leaving her with a strange feeling of connection she had never felt in the galleries she had visited. In the following weeks, Yasmin kept painting on the city's walls. Each piece told a different story. Each revealed a piece of San Francisco's soul that postcards never showed. Marcus documented everything, creating a visual archive of her work. Soon, her art began circulating on social media. People shared photos of the murals using hashtags like Yasmin's art and murals of resistance. Young artists started reaching out, wanting to know how they could join the movement that was taking shape. One night, while working on a new mural near the financial district, a group of 5 young artists approached, offering help. They came from different backgrounds: a young Mexican-American woman, a Filipino guy, an African-American girl, a Vietnamese young man, and a girl of indigenous descent. "Your murals gave us courage," said Leah, the Mexican-American woman. "We want to be part of this." And so, Voice Collective was born, a group of urban artists united by the desire to bring visibility to marginalized stories. Each mural became a collaborative project, blending different styles and perspectives. But not everything was smooth. Growing notoriety also brought problems. Some mornings Yasmin found her murals vandalized, covered with hateful messages. The police began patrolling more heavily the areas where the collective worked, and there were attempts to arrest some artists for vandalism. On a particularly hard day, after discovering that one of her most significant murals, depicting immigrant families separated at the border, had been completely erased, Yasmin sat on the sidewalk, discouraged. "Maybe we're just wasting paint," she said to Marcus, who had become not only her official photographer but also a close friend. "Or maybe they're erasing it because they're afraid of the power of your images," he replied, sitting beside her. "Art that doesn't bother anyone rarely changes anything." That same afternoon, Yasmin's phone rang. It was a call from an unknown number. "Hello?" she answered hesitantly. "Good afternoon. Am I speaking with Yasmin Silva?" asked a female voice. "This is Elena Ramirez, director of the Latino American Community Cultural Center of San Francisco. We're organizing an exhibition about cultural resistance and would love to invite you and your collective to participate." Yasmin felt her heart race. It wasn't a traditional gallery, but it was an opportunity to show her work in a legitimate space to an audience that truly cared about the stories she told. The Cultural Center was a modest building in the heart of the Mission District, far from the elegant galleries of Union Square. The exhibition, titled Voices of the Streets, Art as Resistance, was scheduled to last only 2 weeks, but Yasmin and the Voice Collective worked tirelessly to transform the space. Besides canvas reproductions of the murals spread across the city, they created interactive installations. In one, visitors could write their own stories of immigration and resistance on small, colorful papers that were added to a large collective mural. In another, Marcus's photographs showed the mural creation process and the community's reactions. On opening night, Yasmin could hardly believe what she saw. The space was packed. Whole families, young artists, elderly community members, all moving among the works, discussing, sharing stories, getting emotional. "See that lady over there?" Marcus discreetly pointed to an elegant woman with gray hair examining one of the murals closely. "That's Martha Kearney, chief curator of the Richards Gallery." Yasmin recognized the name immediately. The Richards Gallery was one of the city's most prestigious, known for its contemporary art collection. "What's she doing here?" she asked, surprised. "Apparently, even traditional galleries are paying attention now," Marcus smiled. At the end of the night, after most visitors had left, Martha Kearney approached Yasmin. "Your work is extraordinary," she said bluntly. "There's a visceral honesty I haven't seen in a long time in the traditional circuit." Yasmin held her breath, waiting for the but that surely would come. "We'd like to invite you for a solo exhibition at the Richards Gallery," Martha continued. "Of course, we understand if you prefer to keep your work on the streets. But we believe your message deserves to reach an even bigger audience." Yasmin felt a mix of emotions. It was the recognition she had dreamed of at the start. But now, after everything she had been through, she wasn't sure if she still wanted it. "I need to think about it," she answered honestly, "and talk with my collective. I don't work alone anymore." Martha nodded respectfully. "I completely understand. And whatever your decision, know that your art is already making a difference." That night, the Voice Collective gathered at Yasmin's apartment. The Richards Gallery's proposal was on the table, literally and figuratively. "It's an incredible opportunity," Leah said. "Think about how many people could see our work." "But at what cost?" questioned Jamal, the young African-American. "Man, these galleries usually dilute the message, make the art palatable for their rich white audience." "Maybe it's possible to do both," suggested Kim, the Vietnamese artist. "Keep our murals on the streets and also occupy institutional spaces, subvert from inside and outside." Yasmin listened carefully to every opinion. She remembered that first rejection, the curator's words about looking for something less urban, more universal. Now, ironically, it was exactly the urban and specific character of her art that had caught attention. "I think we have a responsibility to the communities we portray," she said finally. "If we accept, we need to ensure those people have access to the exhibition. No expensive tickets or exclusive events." The discussion went on until dawn, and when the sun rose, a decision had been made. 3 months later, the Richards Gallery opened its doors for the exhibition, Voices of the Streets from Wall to Gallery. But this was no conventional exhibition. The Voice Collective had imposed conditions for their participation. Free entry throughout the exhibition's duration. Special programming for public schools and community centers. Part of the proceeds from artwork sales would go to a fund for young artists from marginalized communities. The exhibition would include documentation of the process and context of the murals, not just the final works. Surprisingly, the gallery accepted all the conditions. The exhibition became a phenomenon, attracting diverse crowds who rarely set foot in that space. The stories behind the murals, of resistance, dignity, and hope, reached people who might never have walked through the neighborhoods where the original works were painted. On closing day, Yasmin found herself once again in front of the curator, who had rejected her portfolio months before. The woman looked embarrassed. "Your work has really evolved since the last time we met," she commented, without directly admitting her earlier misjudgment. Yasmin smiled, without bitterness. "Actually, my art hasn't changed. It was the way people looked at it that transformed." Epilogue. A year after the exhibition at the Richards Gallery, Yasmin walked the streets of the Mission District. The Voice Collective's murals were now part of the cityscape, protected as cultural heritage. Tourists lined up to take photos, and tour guides included the murals in their routes. The collective had grown, welcoming young artists from different backgrounds. Together they had created a studio school in an old warehouse, offering free workshops for community youth. Yasmin stopped in front of her first mural, now restored and preserved. She remembered the day when, full of anger and determination, she had decided to paint her story on that wall. She never imagined that act of rebellion would turn into a movement. Her phone vibrated. It was a message from Marcus with a photo attached. The image showed a mural in a favela in Rio de Janeiro, clearly inspired by the Voice Collective's style. The message simply said, "Your art has traveled farther than you imagine." Yasmin smiled, feeling a wave of emotion. Her journey had started with a personal dream of recognition, but had grown into something much bigger. She then understood that true universality wasn't about abandoning her roots, but sharing them authentically with the world. And so, with the San Francisco sun shining on her skin, Yasmin kept walking, already envisioning the next blank wall. She would transform into a window for stories that needed to be told. So what did you think of this story of overcoming? The door that closes in your face can open windows of opportunity in your life. You just have to go after what you want with all your strength. Leave your comment below telling us which part moved you the most. Don't forget to leave your like. And subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out. Share our next inspiring stories with someone who needs to believe in the power of perseverance and willpower.